Namaste and welcome. Today, feeling a little chilly. I know it's supposed to be in the middle of summer, but somehow we're getting thrown a lot of changes. And so today's practice is a half-hour practice. And I thought we'd implement a lot of warming poses. Some poses have like a cooling element and others have a heating element. Like the fire element sort of charged up. So we're going to start with a few twists and things like that, because that is something that really, gets that compression and release of a lot of blood flow in and around the organs. And that really warms us up from the inside. And then we'll move out into the extremities. And also just doing a few little back bendy, just fairly moderate, nothing too drastic, but using that energy of the fire. So really sort of igniting it. So they're not so passive, even though they're not big back bends, they're not so passive. Today, if you've got a bolster handy, that would be great. If you don't, doesn't matter. I will show both options in one of the back bending series. So we begin. Starting on your knees and, got all stuff all over me. Starting on your knees, tuck your toes so your heels are high and drop your tailbone down. So by dropping your tailbone down, we lengthen the back of the body. So I'm not wanting you to get that really lordotic butt sticking out. I'd rather you flatten it, and if anything, if you need to make a little bit of space, take your knees a little wider. Just try not to have them splaying out too much. And then dropping the tailbone down, lengthening here, which is going to lift up through the heart. And for this first one, bring the hands to the heart. And rather than dropping the head back, I want you to concentrate on lengthening the back of the neck. So it's like you're trying to pull the ears up to the sky. And feel your whole core drawing in, ribs wrapping in. Now, as you create that, press down into the feet. Try and push the pubic bone a little further forward and then lift the heart a little higher. So you can start seeing a little bit of an extension through the upper body, and we're trying to decompress that lower back. Now, if you feel length in the back of the neck and you don't have issues with your neck, you might also like to close the mouth, tongue to the roof of the mouth, and begin to lift the chin to the sky. So this is very long through the back of the neck still. We're not trying to just drop the head back. And then come back forward, untuck the toes, sink back on to the heels and have a moment. Just noticing how that little charge is sort of really good for warming up the legs. I'm going to increase that just a little. So you can stay with that version. If that was quite strong for you, that would be advisable. Otherwise, you're going to come a little further with me. I'm going to do all the same things. Tuck toes. Drop the tailbone down. Lengthen and lift up through the core. Hands to the heart. Lift the heart. Maybe drop the head back. Take one hand behind and either grab a hold of the heel and then the other one, or you can place hands behind and press down. So there's a choice. Only dropping the head back if that feels fine. Steadying the breath. You're still trying to lift up through the heart here. Head comes back and we drop the hips back to the heels. And again, just closing the eyes, noticing where you're feeling the warmth and perhaps starting to feel that little bit of a stretch at the front of the sternum. And again, last time, you can stick with either version of that, or you can come in a little bit deeper. Now this one loads the spine. So if you have any lower back issues, I'd stay away from this one just for a while until you build strength. Core really engage, wrap, and we're going to take the arms up and over. And then coming back and sinking down. This time coming into a child's pose. Stretching the arms out. And this is a really nice place to feel what's going on in the body, especially after that very strong opening of the front of the body. That's that fire element. And this sort of has that earthing, really calming element. Take a couple of breaths, beginning to set your Ujjayi breath. And on your next inhale, come up onto all fours. And we're just going to create a tabletop here to start with. Take a breath and begin to drop the belly down, maybe tuck the toes. Coming into cat and cow, so now rounding into that cat shape. 2 more of those. Inhale. And exhale. Last one. Inhale. And exhale. Tucking the toes, coming back to your first downward facing dog. Bend the knees for this one. We're going to really press the chest right back so the belly touches the thighs. You can come up onto the toes a little if you need to. And let's take a breath here. Just to let yourself settle. And then on your next inhale, lift the hips up a little higher. It's like you're trying to separate the sit bones. And then as you exhale, try and press the heels down towards the floor without needing to touch the floor if that takes your belly away from the thighs. Smooth breath in. Steady breath out. Bend the knees, look forward. Stepping to the front, feet hip width apart. Hands behind the back, interlace fingers and stretch nice and long. Fold over the legs, hands pulling towards the front of the room. Try a little squeeze between the shoulder blades there. That's going to help that. And release the hands. Slowly come up to stand. Rolling shoulders. Bring the feet to touch. Inhale, hands rise. Taking account of where we were in that original back bend. So lengthen tailbone down. I'm going to take that extension here. Lift the heart. You can soften the knees a little, but keep lifting through the heart. Bring the hands down to heart space. Deep breath in. Fold as you exhale. Half lift, inhale. Step back to high plank as you exhale. Lift your right heel so that it is about hip height. No higher, no lower. And then really try and pull the heart forward and also the pubic bone forward as you're trying to pull that right heel back. Take a breath, change feet. We're firing up the sides of the body, the core, and you're trying to really pull the pubic bone forward. So rather than letting the belly drop, draw the belly in and up. And then lower that foot down, drop both knees, lowering all the way to the floor. And even here, try and pull the pubic bone forward as you lower. Turn the toes, baby cobra. Inhale. Exhale, lower. Hands go wide and lift. Elbows high. Baby cobra. And lower. One more of those. Inhale, take the hands behind, palms still facing down. We're going to try and open up through the chest. Then bring the hands to those lower ribs. Take a deep breath, press down into the feet, empty. Next, inhale, upward facing dog. Downward facing dog. And just emptying the breath. Take 3 breaths here. Just letting all of that warmth emanate from the right in the center of your body, making its way to the outside. Bring the feet together, bend the knees, look forward, step lightly or float. Front of mat, half lift, hands behind, interlace. Fold, exhale. Release, sweep up, hands touch. Lengthen tailbone and extension through the upper body. Hands meet back at heart space. Breath in. Exhale, fold. Half lift, inhale. Step back to high plank. Left leg lifts. Try and hold that shape. So you're really trying to flatten the top line of the body. Lower it down. Lift the other leg. So you're not trying to open up the hip. Keep everything really flat. Lower it down. Drop knees or lower through Chaturanga. Baby cobra, inhale. Exhale, lower. This time, baby cobra, we're going to try and straighten the arms a little further. Inhale. And lower. Hands reach out. Hover them, take them back. Lift up as high as you can. Hands come back to those lower ribs and lower. Next, inhale, take the feet a little wider so they're hip width. Upward dog. Downward facing dog. We empty back. 3 breaths. Inhale. Exhale for 2. Last breath in. You can set this up for your movement forward. Empty the breath, look forward. Step or float. Half lift. Fold. Half lift, hands behind, interlaced. Fold. Half lift, release the hands. Fold again. I'm just going to hang out here in a nice fold. You can grab opposite elbows. Just letting the upper body soften here a little. Lengthening the sides of the waist. Take 1 more breath. And slowly make your way up to stand. Roll the shoulders. So here we go with the twists now. Suitably warm in around the torso. Utkatasana. Hands to heart. Take a breath and then rotate. Left elbow comes across and we try and hook it over. You're trying to get your upper arm as far down as you can. Place the hands and then bring the hands right back so your thumbs almost touch your chest. Now once you're here, get longer in the spine. Try not to be looking around the back. Look directly sideways and like when you see a little turtle coming out of its shell, just really lengthen your spine so your neck feels really long. Once you're there, press into your hands and take that pressure to twist the upper body. Smooth, even breath. And you're trying to drive that right knee forward so that it's in line. 1 more breath. Release, stay in Utkatasana. High maple. Hands come back to the heart. I'm going to do the same on the other side. Rotate around. Take the time to get that elbow down as far as possible. Bring the hands back and try and find the length first. We often make the mistake of trying to twist rather than lengthen. And then use that lever to explore. The left knee drives forward. And we release. Utkatasana, last one. And fold. Come slowly up. And roll the shoulders. So that's pretty warming. Nice and juicy. And I don't know about you, but whenever I twist, I really feel the warmth around my kidneys. It's like so intensely warming and nourishing for our organs, not to mention what it's doing to our digestive tract. So it's nice to sink into that sensation, or wherever you're feeling it in your body, because we are all different. Hands to heart. Sink into Utkatasana with hands at prayer. Take a breath. Right elbow across. We come back into that twist, but instead of staying and trying to get deeper, we create the shape, feel nice and steady, and then come up to the toes of that left foot. So you can keep it tapping if you like, so you get your balance, or you can squeeze the heels to the butt. Once you're there, keep that elbow pressing into the knee and step the foot back. So we're in revolving crescent now. Smooth breath in. Steady breath out. One more. See if you can bring those thumbs right back towards the heart. And empty. Release around. Warrior two. And now coming out into the extremities, now we've got all that warmth and blood flow is nice and simple. Smooth inhale and exhale. Let the back hand come around and take a half bind. Reverse, side body nice and long. Couple of hands to the mat. Come through a flow. And empty back in downward dog. One breath in. Smooth breath out. Prepping to come to the front. Empty and float or step. Half lift. Fold. Rise, inhale. Hands to heart. Bowing into Utkatasana. Revolve to the other side. Left side. Right elbow comes down. And again, we set this up first. And then we balance. Or we challenge that balance more. And we step back. Smooth, even breath. Empty. Two more. Slowly opening out. Just enjoying that warmth. Back hand comes around, takes that half bind. Reverse. Inhale. Cartwheeling to the floor, flow of choice, or you can skip that. And we end back in our downward dog. 3 breaths here. And I don't know about you, but that warmth is certainly there. And roll forward, coming down onto your knees. So this is where if you have a bolster, have it close by. Mine is just here. If you don't have a bolster, don't fear. I'll show the first version with a bolster, and then I will show the version without. So we're going to come down onto the bolster, and the bolster is going to be sort of under our elbows, so from the belly button up. Now this is quite intense if you have lower back issues, so you might not choose this because, as you can see, it's put me into more of an extension But if you're comfortable with that, or you have a rolled up towel or anything, I'll just give you a moment to find that setup. And rather than sinking into our shoulders, we're pressing up. So it's a version of like, you can imagine we're in Sphinx or something like that, but we're a little higher. And this is prepping our body for a back bend. So what I want you to check here is that you're not clenching your butt cheeks. This is often what happens when our heels roll in, and that puts our sacrum under a lot of stress. You want to actually do the opposite. It's almost like your little toes are pressing down, but you're long still through the big toes, so you're not sickling the feet in. You're just finding this length, but also just a subtle internal rotation. So inner thighs are sort of going to the sky a little, and that releases your sacrum, so you've got a little bit of space. And if you try and keep that, I'm going to keep my core on and reach around and grab a hold of an ankle. I'm going to do the same on the other side, and the bolster actually helps me out there a little. So once you're here, press into the hands, into the feet, and it holds you in this really nice shape. And gently release. Come on down. So you can either lay across your bolster or come down and give your whole body a release. I'm going to do that one more time, and this time without the bolster. You'll see the difference when you're ready. Coming up, grabbing a hold. And at this point, I'm not trying to lift my knees really high. I'm trying to lift my chest. And gently release. Come down, let the heads just lay on the hands. Again, check that the heels are draping out, not inwards. And a nice settling breath. Bring the hands to those lower ribs. Lengthen the feet. So again, you're trying to feel for the little toe pressing down. The big toe, the center line, inner line of the legs, really long. Upward facing dog, 3 breaths. Strong core. Press down into the tops of the feet. Really fire up the legs. And downward facing dog. We end back in that nice restful position. Start to press through the heels a little more. Even though we're working on the front line of the body, the back line of the body is still warming up because it's being released from its tightness. Take 2 more breaths. And gently come down onto the knees. For our last little bit, we're going to spin over and lay down on our spine. We're going to go into just a last little series of back bends before finishing. So lower down. Ponytails out of the way. Reorient yourself and just lay there for a moment, just checking in on your lower back. Often when we do a lot of back bending or twisting, if you have any niggles in that lower back, they'll sort of let you know pretty quick. And often if you cannot lay with your legs just flat, if you feel you always have to bend your knees, I'd be looking at getting a bit more core integrated into your practice, and perhaps even just checking in with somebody, a professional, as to what's going on there. So if you can lie completely flat, just get all the feedback, and then bring your knees in, your feet as close to the butt as you can. Pubic bone is going to lift, so we're really trying to press the back of the pelvis down, and we feel this sling shape in the body. And rather than what often happens is we drive up using our glutes, which they often teach you in gym classes because that's, it's really, really good for the glutes. Today we're just trying to look after the lower back. So dropping the pubic bone, lifting the pubic bone and dropping the back of the pelvis. Press into the heels and try and lift the lower back off the floor, but keep the ribs down. So you can see this shape that's being created here. And my glutes are firing, but they're not over firing. I've sort of got an even attention with my quads and my glutes. And you'll feel it if your knees go wide. Again, that same thing with your sacrum gets really squished. So you want toes pointing forward, knees trying to pull forward. And then we slowly, one vertebra at a time, we're just going to lift up through the upper body. And it's more or less like you're pressing into the heels to drive the chest to the back of the room. So this motion here is a little different than to just popping up. It's really articulated. And we're driving the chest back and we're coming down through the spine again. And the whole time my pubic bone is lifted. So my glutes and my quads have got to work. Let's come back down. Let yourself rest. I'm going to move our feet back a little more if they slid forward. And we're going to do that one more time, but smoothly this time. Pubic bone lifts, back of the pelvis drops. We keep the shape. We drive into the feet. We just lift up to that lower back is completely off the floor. You can take your arms over the head if you like, or out to the sides, or even elbows down, whatever feels right. And then we're slowly going to drive the chest back towards the chin. This time, interlace the fingers and bring them underneath. Now just watch here that you haven't dropped that pubic bone back, that you're still trying to lift it up. Ribs wrap in. Now we're here in this fiery element, but we're breathing really smoothly. So we don't want to take it and throw it into the flame so that this pose burns out really quickly. We want to sustain the heat. And we sustain the heat by keep pressing into the heels. Inner thighs are out, knees try to broaden. Heart pushing towards the chin. And then release down. Bring the big toes, bring the feet together and let the knees drop apart. And just take your time lining up the little toe, the next toe, the middle, until you have all of your toes together, and then press the knees a little wider. If you're feeling too much in that lower back, just lift the hips and move them subtly forward. Take the arms out into a cactus arm. Right knee comes across and taps towards that left knee. So you're going to try and draw that knee a little further forward. Look over towards the right and get that beautiful stretch through the side of the body. And the hip comes down, the knee goes wide again. Take a breath. And then on your next inhale, left knee strives to tap right over on top of that right knee. And we gaze to the left, if that feels right. And then we come back and we open it out. Take your hands down by the sides of the thighs and bring the knees together, one knee in at a time. And as you do this, sort of massage through your lower back. And a circle going the other way, whatever feels right. Sometimes a little figure eight. Sometimes it feels nice for the knees to go in opposite direction. It doesn't matter which direction. And when you're ready, lengthen it out. Find your Shavasana. Maybe press into the head and draw the shoulder blades beneath you comfortably. Let the feet drop open, the palms roll open to the sky. And we take a moment for ourselves here to really connect into that warmth that we've created. Allowing yourself to feel it nourish all of your vital organs, your extremities, every cell in your body tingling. Thank you for practicing with me this morning, and I hope you have a wonderful day. Feel free to stitch on a beautiful yin practice. We just uploaded a couple of the newer ones from Eva last night. Enjoy.